Previously on Mr. Movie Lover.
So you might have heard a few references to M Night Shyamalan's The Last Airbender in this video, and maybe you have come to the conclusion that I think it's the worst movie ever made. Maybe I thought it was adequate. I don't know. Watch my next video and hear my thoughts about that movie.
Alright, so some backstory. I was pretty much over M. Night Shyamalan by now. I didn't really hate The Village, but I was quite thrown off by The Happening. So when I saw the trailer for this movie, I remember thinking, wow, this looks cool. But then I saw M. Night Shyamalan's name and I thought, meh. Cut to some time later, and my brother was telling me about the cartoon and how great it was. So I watched said cartoon and wow, yes. This quickly became one of my favorite shows. The humor was especially exceptional. Even though this show was for kids, the humor wasn't super dumbed down. Also, the characters were very well developed. They all grew to become better versions of themselves. The animals, Appa and Momo, had personalities, and especially Momo was always a favorite of mine. Even very small characters kept coming back as compelling callbacks. So Avatar: The Last Airbender was great, and you should seriously go watch it. It's back on Netflix again, and The Legend of Korra, the follow-up show to it, is pretty good too. So here we were, ready to go watch The Last Airbender. James Cameron made a little film you might have heard of called Avatar. It was a hit, especially for its 3D technology, which brought 3D movies back to theaters. Because they didn't want there to be confusion between the two movies, they dropped Avatar from the title, and now it was called The Last Airbender. This should have been an omen for things to come, but I was still excited for it to come out. There have been some decent live-action movies based on comic books. The Marvel Cinematic Universe had already been 3 movies in, and Batman Begins and The Dark Knight had come out as well. We excitedly lined up to see The Last Airbender when it came out, and wow. So should you watch The Last Airbender? Did it live up to the hype? Did Mark Wahlberg make a cameo to talk about some plants?
Hello? My name is Elliot Moore. I'm just going to talk in a very positive manner.
Yeah, no. This movie's pretty bad. And I'm not just saying that because they changed so much about all the characters, including their names. I'm saying this because it's so boring. When I thought about making a video about this movie a few weeks ago, I tried watching it again on Netflix and got so bored after 10 minutes that I had to turn it off. I was tempted to just say, no, don't watch it, and then run away. But I had to man up and take one for the team, so I'll list out some of my grievances with this movie. Let's start with the characters. And where better to start than the controversy that plagued this movie even before it was released? The casting. All the characters in Avatar: The Last Airbender, the cartoon, are Asian, with the water tribes being Inuit. When they were casting for this movie, they cast 4 Caucasian actors for the 4 main characters. Before production, Prince Zuko was originally cast as Jesse McCartney playing the role. Was recast with Dev Patel instead. So,
Aang flew us to his home.
Aang is his name in the cartoon. And yet everyone, Aang included, pronounces it Ung in the movie. M. Night discovered Avatar when his daughter wanted to be Katara for Halloween. He said he watched the series with his family. It was even an event in their house. Star Trek: The Next Generation was an event in my house growing up. So if I were to make a movie about that show and people started calling Jean-Luc Picard Jean-Luc Pickle, I'd probably stop the actress and say, no, it's Jean-Luc Picard, everyone's favorite captain, so please go back and say it correctly. I don't quite understand how Shyamalan missed it. I won't go too much further on this one thing, but it digs into me every time they say his name in the movie. So mispronunciations aren't the only thing wrong with the characters. They also got the core traits wrong too. Sokka was the comic relief of the show. He was always trying to be super serious, but then would comically overdo it. He would hold conversations with his boomerang, and once he sarcastically attempted to sacrifice Momo to a giant sea serpent. In this movie, he's played by Jackson Rathbone, slightly better known for playing Jasper in the Twilight series. Once again, I feel like Shyamalan forgot about the animated series when he was directing this character. This Sokka has all the seriousness without any of the humor. He tries to be funny like twice, but only when he's the butt of a running joke where Katara's water bending goes awry. Speaking of Katara, she doesn't get away clean either. She's not as dry, but she still doesn't do anything for most of the movie, other than narrate.
100 years ago, all was right with us.
And narrate.
Aang flew us to his home. He told us how he left there in a storm on Appa.
And narrate.
My brother and the princess became friends right away.
She narrates so much that she doesn't get any character development, because there isn't much time for any character development when you have to spend such a chunk of the dialogue as you knowing.
As you know, I conducted a raid on the Great Library, which most said didn't even exist.
Through exposition. Take the peak of Katara's arc in the first season, which was that she was trying to train with the Master Waterbender, who refused to train with her because she was a girl, and he only trained male waterbenders. This resulted in her challenging Master Pakku to a duel, to show him that she could fight just as well as a man. Yeah, Sokka gets watered in about every medium. She lost, but he did learn to respect her better. In the live-action version, there wasn't even a conflict. Instead, we got a deleted scene where she dueled him, sort of. Zuko was okay, I guess. His character was so meaty in the first season of the cartoon anyways, that he fit well even with the rest of the cast. What he lacked, as well as every other character, was development, however. He had a mysterious scar on his face, and he was in exile. But why? Should they show him being disobedient and mouthing off to one of his father's advisors, causing him to enter into a duel with his own father, so that the Fire Lord would save face? Nope, let's just have some kid recite the whole story to him. Why would a kid even know or care about this great detail? I mean, they did show 3 people walking into frame, so at least you could tell who the kid was talking about. Ah, Zuko's sister is so evil. Good thing we'll see much of her later on. Speaking of exposition, there is so much of it. I swear half the dialogue might be exposition or narration. People just exchanging glances as Katara narrates about what they should have been doing. I read that M. Night became overwhelmed with all the changes that kept coming at him from the studio that he just eventually checked out and kept the movie going along just to collect a paycheck. So here's the scene. Aang and Katara are practicing their waterbending. Aang realizes the North Air Temple is nearby. He tells Katara he wants to go there. Now Katara is telling Sokka everything we saw Aang do earlier in the Air Temple. Sokka tells her that she needs to talk to him about it. So do we see that? Nope. So let's just skip at that and cut to Aang doing some night practicing when he takes off to the temple. Sokka and Katara sit up from their beds and wonder, watching him take off. Sokka says, I guess your talk didn't work. What talk? They skipped over a chance to actually add some development between the characters. In addition to the characters being bland and their dialogue being bland and the script being bland, the bending was also bland. First off, firebending received a major nerf. In the cartoon, firebenders used their chi to summon fire from within. In the movie, only the extreme powerful firebenders can actually bend fire without having an existing fire source. Lame. Waterbending is also off. You see actors kind of moving around rather stiffly, thinking water will be flying around them, but not much happens. Sometimes it seemed like there should have been some water, but they just forgot to add the effect. Airbending was actually the best of the 3 elements represented. However, Aang should be able to fly. Apparently that costs too much as well, so they only just let him flip around a bunch and maybe like jump on a wall. Earthbending got the worst of it, however. They are strong benders in the cartoon. Their bending comes from their core and forcing the rocks to move by overpowering it with their greater will. In the movie, we get this. This is not earthbending. This is waterbending in the movie with rocks. So the movie is a wreck and a bore, and I was able to make it through eventually, but oh so boring. Part of the problem was that they were rushed to add the 3D effects so that they could release it in 3D. Thanks, James Cameron. The 3D effects were also rubbish. I remember when I was watching the theater that they just added the effects at the end, so you could actually see parts of the characters' heads floating behind them because they made it so poorly. The good news is that we have a Netflix live-action series in the works. They will have the benefit of seeing this movie and learning what not to do with their series. This series will actually also have more control by the actual creators of the series, so they shouldn't mess it up too bad. Another thing they don't have to worry about is fitting a whole season of a TV show into a 2-hour movie. I heard M. Night's original script was 7 hours long. Should you watch this movie? Oh no. don't bother. Instead, go to the Netflix and watch the series. You'll thank me. Well, that's it. Make sure you like this video and subscribe, and please comment below. Let's get some discussion. Did you actually like The Last Airbender? Leave a comment. Do you know of some things wrong with the movie that I forgot? Leave a comment. Do you want to just say hi?
Oh, hi, Mark.
Leave a comment. That's okay too. And that's it for me. I'll see you next time, everybody. Thank you and goodbye.